Fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now at 865-243-8255. That's 243-TALK. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
Welcome back to the Patrick Riggins Show. Getting everything lined up and running here.
Technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties, but Tori, the ace producer, somehow pulls it out of the bucket and gets it running.
Yeah, if you want to call it the bucket, yeah. We'll call it bucket.
We'll call it bucket. That's a good term to use. All right. This week, we saw, what we're calling a terrorist attack, although we aren't sure it's a terrorist attack. What we are sure of is the bombers were foreigners, but without hearing why they did what they did, I don't think we can accurately label it a terrorist attack. Could be these two people were just outright crazy, which would put them in the same category as Adam Lanza, and all the other crazy people have decided it's time to go on a killing spree. But you see, by labeling it terrorism, we can go ahead and justify slowly removing more of your rights and freedoms in the name of safety, which, by the way, we have some audio here from a report ABC News did yesterday that I thought my listeners would like to hear. Some of the guys pulled this out, let me hear it, and I thought it was really indicative of what's going on. If you haven't heard it already, and even if you did, you haven't heard my analysis on it, which is all the more reason to listen to it again. Okay, in this first clip, though, we're starting to hear this overreaction from what happened in Boston, and it's starting to occur.
The nerves are evident across the country. In Boston last Tuesday, 2 flights were held and searched after passengers raised concerns. In one case, on board a United Airlines flight bound for Chicago, 2 men were heard speaking Arabic, which made some marathon runners who were on the plane nervous. The Arabic men were taken off the flight.
What fuels this type of reaction? It's this massive 24/7 news repeating over and over, running this event into the ground. This is what fuels this hysteria. We get everyone so pumped up, they can't help but be stuck to the television news looking for anything, any little bit of scrap of new information on whatever the current crisis is. This is exactly by design. You are aware that television news channels make their money from advertising, right? They aren't doing it as a public service. They're doing it for money. And more viewers equals more money they can charge advertisers. So keeping this event pumped up and in your face makes you more concerned, thus wanting to religiously watch their news channel for any new snippet that might come out over the period of hours and hours you're viewing, delivering excellent audience numbers for their advertisers. So that's why the news channels are hyping this event. But they aren't the only ones. Our friends in government have a big reason they want this talked about over and over for weeks to come. And if you didn't catch it, I just mentioned it. The government will use this as a reason to take away more of your freedom and liberty. Now, most of the listeners of this show won't buy into that line of thinking. Unfortunately, a disturbing number of American citizens don't see anything wrong with giving up more freedoms. And it's evidenced by this interview that is from that same ABC News report. Here's that clip.
I think it's great that they've stepped it up because you never know where terrorism's going to hit. And I don't mind if they have to, do any kind of searches. I'd rather feel safe than anything else.
I'd rather feel safe than anything else. There is the enemy, my friends. There is the person, exactly, there's the person willing to sell out your freedom in order for them to feel more safe. Not necessarily be more safe, just so they can feel more safe. These are the people who we have to try and reach. And if we cannot reach them, then we definitely have to outvote them. They are the threat to this country. As I said last week on this very show, these are the traitors that will gladly hand over your rights to the government, all in the name of safety and security. Now, here's the last part of that clip again. just to run this point home so you understand what you're dealing with.
I'd rather feel safe than anything else.
In that same news report, they interviewed another woman who was at Los Angeles International Airport, where a police presence had been stepped up in light of the events in Boston. And here's what she had to say.
We also saw the police cars that were there, and they were surrounding the whole airport, so that made me personally feel a little bit more like at ease.
So do you see what's happening, or in this case here, what is happening? How people are getting used to having the authorities around, how they're being taught to not feel safe unless there is a significant government presence around. Here's another clip which I think points out exactly what should be happening.
This man who is boarding a train to Boston says he's not going to let fear control his life right now.
But you just have to carry on living your life as normal. As, you know, once you start trying to avoid it, then they've won.
Did you notice his accent? Did you notice this man is from outside the United States? Even though he is here in this country, he didn't grow up here. He knows how you should treat these types of things. He hasn't fallen prey to this insidious idea that you are helpless against bad people, something too many Americans are more than willing to accept. But just in case you start to take some strength from his attitude towards terrorism and bad people, the reporter doesn't want you to get too comfortable in that idea, so he follows up with this.
Still, though, many people are feeling shaken and worried.
So if you're feeling shaken and worried, don't let that bother you. Many others are feeling this way as well. So don't try and get over it. Don't move past it. Let's cultivate it and even propagate it to others. Let's get everyone feeling uneasy so the government can ride to the rescue with their solutions.
I didn't know I was shaken and worried till he just told me.
You're very shaken and worried.
Now I am. Now.
Yes.
I wasn't
and if
just a
you're
second ago.
if you aren't, you're in denial. You're just denying it, Tori. You're shaking and scared, and you don't know what to do right now.
Okay.
You need the government in here to make you feel safe.
Just like I'm part of the 90%.
You're part of the 90%, and you just don't even know it.
Mm-hmm.
So you need the government telling you how you should feel.
Yes.
If you want to hear that, here it is again.
I'd rather feel safe than anything else.
There you go. That's you, and you just don't know it. Interestingly, the same reporter in this story interviewed Tom Ridge. Now, he's the past Secretary of Homeland Security. Mr. Ridge emphasized how overreaction is the wrong thing to do.
You have to manage the risk. Unless you have specific information about a particular actor, you can't guarantee safety anywhere.
So he says, unless you have specific information, you can't guarantee safety anywhere. Why isn't this being broadcast everywhere? Because it doesn't fit the template of everyone needing government in their lives to take care of them, to watch over them, to mother them. Mr. Ridge also goes on to mention how you can protect yourself.
If you see something, as the slogan is, say something. It's about being aware of your environment. If it looks unusual, tell something about it.
So he's saying be aware of your environment. Notice what's going on around you. Gee, for you regular listeners, where have you heard that before?
What I stress to you is always be vigilant about your surroundings and what is going on. You don't have to be on high alert. Just make it hard for someone to take advantage of you.
That clip was from this very show last summer, almost a full year ago. That's why you listen to this radio show. That's why this show is rocketing up the charts and doing so well. Not only do you get the political analysis, you get ideas and advice that you can put to use to help you out in your own life. And here's a few more clips from 2 different shows right here around that same time.
You don't have to be paranoid about everybody. Just aware of them. Most people who are attacked in some way or another become victims because they fail to notice some warning signs something was about to happen. Mean people aren't just looking to harm you specifically. If you are in a public place, look around and notice what others are doing. Are they dressed appropriately for the weather? Are they nervous or sweating abnormally? Being aware of your surroundings becomes second nature when you practice it. It gets to the point where you don't even know you're watching others until you see something out of the ordinary. then you can decide if these people are up to something or not.
Hello, Boston Marathon people. There were numerous people who saw those bombers in the crowd, and probably quite a few of them who saw them leave their bags and walk away. But they weren't thinking like they should have been. Obviously, that behavior didn't raise anyone's suspicion, not enough to do something about it. Now, here is one last tip from one of those shows last summer.
Again, I'm not talking about being paranoid and afraid of everyone around you. I'm only saying to just be aware. But even then, you may not escape everything, but at least you will be one up on those people who are blindly stumbling around and end up putting themselves in harm's way.
Being aware. You heard it from me last summer. And if you need more convincing, you heard it from ex-Secretary of Homeland Security Tom Ridge just a couple of clips ago. And speaking of him, here's one more little clip here about his advice on how to move forward from this incident.
When you compromise how you live, that gives them a victory. And as painful as it is today, you can't let them succeed by us changing the norm and changing how we live. We can't let them win. No victories.
There you go. Almost the exact same advice as that person with the British accent interviewed on those clips.
But how are we going to feel safer if we don't change anything?
Yes, you just, yeah, exactly. That's what the government wants you. We have to change everything. We need to put cameras everywhere. Oh, yeah. All right, we're up on the bottom of the hour here on the Patrick Riggins Show already, and we have even more to pack in the second half. So don't miss it. We'll talk a little, we'll probably talk a little bit more about this and hit a couple other things when we come back.